Welcome to the 700 Club. President-elect Donald Trump continues to rack up electoral votes. His stunning margin of victory in both the electoral and popular votes has Democrats questioning their party's future.
And after pulling off the historic comeback, Trump and his team have turned to the transition process. They're preparing to hit the ground running on day one. Dale Hurd has the story.
President-elect Trump is already huddling with advisors on how to tackle some of the major issues in the campaign, including inflation and the border crisis.
And every citizen, I will fight for you, for your family, and your future.
Trump is now projected to win the state of Arizona and is projected to have a total of 312 electoral votes against Vice President Kamala Harris's 226. Trump also won the popular vote by a margin of almost 5 million. Harris conceded Wednesday afternoon in an address from her alma mater, Howard University.
The outcome of this election is not what we wanted, not what we fought for, not what we voted for, but hear me when I say, the light of America's promise will always burn bright.
Earlier, Harris called Trump to congratulate him. A Trump spokesman said both leaders agreed on the importance of unifying the country. President Joe Biden has invited Trump to the White House and will address the nation on the election outcome today. Most pollsters underestimated the level of Donald Trump's support in the third straight presidential election, predicting a neck-and-neck race with Harris. Trump won 81% of evangelicals, while picking up support among Latino and black working-class voters, evidence the GOP is broadening its base and leaving Democrats to ponder the future direction of their party.
Democrats need to take a step back. We are out of touch with where the majority of the country wants to go.
Democratic Congressman Richie Torres posted on X, Donald Trump has no greater friend than the far left, which has managed to alienate historic numbers of Latinos, blacks, Asians, and Jews from the Democratic Party with absurdities like defund the police, or from the river to the sea, or Latinx. With Republicans taking the Senate, the House remains up for grabs. There are 22 toss-up seats at the heart of the fight, 10 held by Democrats and 12 by Republicans. There are also reports that Biden-Harris Justice Department Special Counsel Jack Smith will end the DOJ's 2 cases against President-elect Trump, charges related to January 6th and the classified documents case in Florida. Dale Hurd, CBN News.
Well, there certainly is going to be a whirlwind of change coming, and it's just now beginning. And what will be the transition? What will be the first day of office? What will be the first 100 days? Well, stay tuned, because it's going to be fairly dramatic as we move forward. From Tehran to Tel Aviv to Gaza, people in the Middle East are speaking out about Trump's victory. Chris Mitchell has their reactions.
Some journalists from Arab Gulf nations hail Trump's election as a victory for the moderate access in the Middle East. One wrote, President Donald Trump return to the White House is a nightmare for the terrorist militias and a new hope for stability in the Middle East. This Saudi journalist said, Trump's victory is a victory for Israel in its war against terrorism. Trump has previously shown strong support for Israel, and he will continue this support, which could give Israel more freedom in its fight against Hezbollah's terrorism. Hezbollah leader Sheikh Naim Qassam, hiding in Tehran, remained defiant.
We do not expect the end of aggression to be based on a political movement, and we will not beg for the aggression to stop. We will make the enemy demand an end to the aggression.
Iran's currency, the rial, fell to an all-time low after the election, leaving some Iranians pessimistic about their future.
100% Trump will intensify the sanctions. Things that are not in our favor will be worse. Our economy and social situation will surely get worse.
In Israel, many believe Trump's presidency will mean more reliable support from the U.S.
It's a victory for all the American people, for all the Israeli people, and it's a victory that erases every word of anti-Semitism in the world. Good luck to him. All the best. We love him. Well done to him.
Basically, the governments are considered to be as business, and he would be someone that could take care of business, so to speak, as opposed to someone of Kamala Harris.
In Gaza, some hope Trump will end their suffering.
I hope to God that he is a man of peace and finds a solution for us. Enough blood. You see how the streets have become. There is no house without a martyr, a wounded person, or a disaster in it.
Meanwhile, some Israelis are protesting Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's decision to fire Defense Minister Yoav Gallant. In his farewell address to IDF troops on Wednesday, Gallant praised their unprecedented military achievements.
We changed the balance of power in the Middle East, from Gaza to Tehran, from Hodeidah in Yemen to Dahaya in Beirut. In all these places, things happened that had never happened before, and we set our enemies back decades.
Also on Wednesday, Netanyahu spoke with President-elect Trump about Israeli security and the threat Iran poses to both their countries.
Well, CBN Middle East correspondent Chris Mitchell joins us now from Jerusalem. So, Chris, how would the U.S.-Israel relationship be different now with President Trump?
Well, I think you're going to see a lot of differences, Gordon. First of all, I think you're going to see more green lights instead of red lights or yellow lights under the Biden administration. There's been a lot of red lights for the past year, like a limited arms embargo. I think Trump will likely enable Israel to win their wars decisively and as quickly as possible. You know, he said in his victory speech he wants to end wars. He doesn't want to start wars. I think we're going to see the Abraham Accords back on track. Perhaps that would mean normalization with Saudi Arabia. I also think the U.S. is going to be providing more diplomatic cover for Israel in international arenas like the UN, International Criminal Court, International Court of Justice, probably prevent sanctions on individual Israelis, as the Biden administration has done. One other thing, put the Oslo Accords to bed and probably offer another solution. One possibility might be former U.S. Ambassador to Israel, David Friedman. You spoke to him about his proposal in his book, One Jewish State, to declare sovereignty over Judea and Samaria. So in essence, I think it'll be a completely different direction.
What do you think the future of UNRWA will be under Trump's administration? In his past time, he stopped U.S. funding. Biden famously restored that funding. Are we going to see not just elimination of U.S. funding, but an attempt by the U.S. at the UN to stop UNRWA?
I think that's exactly probably what the administration is going to doing. As you said, they stopped funding for UNRWA. I think they'll also stop funding to the Palestinian Authority, something that the Biden administration began on their first day in office. So I think UNRWA is going to really be put on notice for what they have done with October 7th, their collusion with Hamas. It's been documented. Many of their employees participated in October 7th. And as we have reported for years, that they really have indoctrinated generations of Palestinians to see that all of Israel will one day become Palestine. So I think the funding will stop, and perhaps even trying to get UNRWA off the table and put it into another UN agency to take care of the refugees.
You said something very interesting just a minute ago, that the Oslo Accords would be on the table and there would be a restatement of that, a complete redo. Are you saying there might not be a Palestinian Authority going forward?
Well, you know, when in his book, and we talked to Ambassador Friedman just a few days ago at something called the Middle East Summit, you know, the details have to be worked out. But the idea is that Israel will declare sovereignty in his proposal over Judea and Samaria. And that would really put the Oslo Accords to bed, that there would be a two-state solution, something that the Biden administration has been proposing time and time again, even after October 7th, when Hamas did what they did, and also the Palestinian Authority. Many people in that area were actually supportive of October 7th. So we could see dramatic changes in whatever the Oslo Accords. They've been there for about 30 years, and they haven't succeeded yet.
Well, let's turn to Israeli domestic politics. Netanyahu fired his defense minister Gallant on the eve of the U.S. election. Is that timing coincidental? Was he intentional? And what's been the impact domestically in Israel?
I don't think the timing was coincidental. I think it actually fell on the election day purposely, so it actually didn't get as much attention as it would have. The reason for that, the firing, I believe, Gordon, was Gallant had been considered by some to be insubordinate. There were significant differences on how to prosecute the war. And also some believe, Gordon, that he really was a back channel to the Biden administration and was undermining some of Netanyahu's policies. Some believe whatever leaks have been coming out of the war cabinet will decline significantly right now. And so so the timing, I think, was purposeful. And going forward, you have to remember that in previous wars, the prime minister would also serve as the defense minister. They did that with Ben Gurion. They did that with the late Menachem Begin. Right now, by law, Netanyahu can't serve because he's under indictment. But he has somebody there as defense minister, Israel Katz, who's considered very loyal to Netanyahu. But practically, Gordon, it might be that the Netanyahu will really serve as the de facto defense minister going forward in its multi-front war with Hezbollah, Hamas, and Iran.
Last question. Do you think Iran's going to follow through with their threat and now attack Israel and attack the U.S.? Is that still on the table, or do you think they're going to pull back?
I think they're going to pull back, and I think that once Trump was elected, that served them notice that that Israel would have a robust ally on January 2nd. So I really think that put a damper on their threats, which they have for the last couple of weeks, saying they're going to have a large-scale attack against. That would be a rationale for not only Israel to respond in a large way, but also perhaps even under the Biden administration to have U.S. support. So I think, Persians, as they often do, have strategic patience. They play the long game, and I think they're probably going to pull back from their threats of a large-scale attack against Israel.
All right, Chris, thanks for your insights, and continue being the watchman on the wall. Thank you.